What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Summit Power Rankings. I am your host, X-Ray. Joining me this week, Mr. Jason, once again. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, doing great. Just coming off a victory in Titan. Some of y'all seen it, some of y'all didn't, but we made playoffs. Looking good, feeling good.
Yeah, and I mean you're looking pretty good for Summit too. So you might maybe do a three piece for Blue Water. Or
And
what? I
Blue
don't.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He
We're
might do
number
a
one
three
in Blue Water
piece.
right now too.
Oh no shit. Huh. Well, and joining us this week is one of the strongest mid laners. Last
GM.
season's last season's winner and MVP. Never saw. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good. A little sleepy, but we're here.
We're here. We're here to hear the biggest never saw hot takes of
Oh boy.
what kind of people you think are better than who. And yeah, I think without further ado, I think we need to get this show on the road so we can all go to bed. We're not biased or anything like that, but yeah,
Not wrong.
starting off. So I changed my top list this week. I actually numbered them
Insane.
in order. In order, okay. So I started off with Owen. Even though his team lost, he lost the series. His game 2 and 3 performance, I think, were really good enough to keep him at first. I mean, there were definitely some strong performances this week by some of these other individuals. David, while he was on tank duty for 2 of his games, and then he was on New York, still played really well into Owen and had a pretty solid showing. The Malphite counterpick into Jace was kind of crazy. I put myself here. Listen, I may.
Crazy. You're
Listen,
insane.
listen.
You're
I have
delusional.
I have some copium. All
You're
right.
delusional, buddy. You're actually delusional.
I think you guys are delusional. Putting me seventh over Patstick again. Listen, I
What
have
have you done?
what have I done?
Yes. Sprinkler's hard carrying your team. You're not doing anything. You can replace you with like anybody from five and below, and you guys are having the exact same results. The exact
I
same
call
results.
cap. I call cap. Uh,
Put Villain on the team, y'all getting the exact same results.
bullshit. I call bullshit.
You know what
But
I'm saying?
Seesaw Games, Soul Bold, Gar won the mental warfare. I killed him. I can't believe he told me after the game is like you actually made my mental like I turned off my brain after this first solo kill after 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Gar
I'm well aware.
Jason knows, but I'm letting everyone else know. Okay. Um, I would say my laning definitely still needs work, but and
It's just
I
like
I,
bronze.
I originally had myself number one. Okay,
That's
I was
fucking
gonna I
insane.
was gonna huff this mega copium. Okay,
That's not even
so
copium. That's just like mental asylum. That's
mental
fucking
side.
insane.
And then I have Bron Cena. I mean, he hasn't played yet, but I think this is a good spot for him. I think this guy is actually a crazy player. Pat Stick looking good. Probably the new Brissy of the top lane. Wand Cake. Listen, I kept him in the same
That's
spot
crazy.
because okay, he
That's
listen. I
crazy.
understand he had a good performance, but look at the team he's playing against. He's playing Beware. Okay, listen,
Hey, look at the team he's on.
okay. What do you want from me?
He's carrying. He's the carrier. He's carrying his team out. He's like the best performer every game.
Okay, I understand that, but he's playing
I don't
against
think.
Beware. Like what do
Gang.
you want from me?
Okay. Keep going. Keep
What do you
going.
want
Keep
from me?
going. Keep
Okay,
going. You
okay.
delusional. Keep going.
Listen, Gar. Listen, you know why Gar's here. Listen, I'm giving
I'm not
I'm
even gonna defend him. You do it. Yeah, I ain't gonna defend him.
okay, okay.
Throw him to the wolves.
Yeah.
Listen,
Fuck it.
ISO haven't played. Probably gonna play Zac for the 11th time, probably unless he gets banned. Asuna hasn't played. Might be good. Might be a good match this week. He's playing at Beartail, so we'll definitely see. I have him over Beartail, who also hasn't played. John Dye actually pretty solid showing this week against Banana. Sold him twice. First blood in game one, and then
Exact same shed move
I
both
know,
games.
I know.
The
With
exact
one
same move.
backwards. Oh
Taunt
my
into
goodness.
tower, and he just dies from tower. It was actually so cringe. And then Banana, listen, Banana. I understand. Like after like 4 minutes, you had a pretty good showing, but you got soul killed by John Dye twice in the same fashion.
Exact same fashion. That shit
So
was crazy.
and VLN 41-0. And that's all you have to say about feeling. I was
Oh,
really,
shit.
I was really tempted to put
Holy
him
shit.
last, this week.
Yeah.
And Doki. I just have no flash. So, yeah, and send it over to Jason.
Okay, let me look at my list. Where the fuck do I put up? Okay, look
I'm
here.
gonna be honest, you
Yeah.
guys kind of like copy pasted yourself. You have one difference this week,
I mean, great minds think alike.
or
Me
two.
and Never
Sorry,
saw
two
like
differences.
the other ones have a little more difference, but for the most part, like if you watch the games and know what's going on, your list really shouldn't vary too much. But I ain't gonna talk about what you got going on over there. But anyways, Owen, I don't think he's never gonna get dethroned. Even if he's not having the best games, he's still looking strong, and I don't think anyone's even remotely close to him, even on his bad days. No glaze. Juan Cake, I already mentioned earlier while you were going, just solid, great player. Like I think personally, me rating the 2 through 5 this time was very hard. 2 through 5, maybe 6. Probably not 6. 2 through 5 is very hard. Like right now, I think it's that will move around a lot in the next coming weeks. Like even you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably want to change it around. Like this Guardian had the best showing, but I still think from previous weeks and even like his not best showing this time around is still I don't think it warranted him going down too low below the other two people below him. But again, I think 2 through 5 is all very close. Bronson didn't play yet, but still had very strong showings. DV decent showing against Owen, but still some moments of greatness, but still overall like I think he just sacks too much and it just falls way too behind. Like I don't know why he's getting like half CS every game. Pat Stick, another great Orange performance.
It's crazy,
X-Ray,
crazy. What has Pat
yeah, I don't know
Stick
how he
done?
keeps getting
What
Orange.
has Pat Stick done?
He's a
Okay.
tank up there.
Orin.
He be putting in work on the Orange, by the way. He be putting in work. He be getting
Okay.
randomly sold in lane.
What happens when
He
I
be getting
play
You got
Orange?
sold by Doki, gang. Gang, you got sold by Doki like
Okay,
3
that was
times.
last week. We're talking about this week.
You got sold by Guard too. Look, you died. You
Yeah.
you got first blood on Olaf into Mordekaiser, and then you still lost lane after getting an
Okay,
first blood level
yeah,
1, and you still lost lane.
he has 6. I don't. Okay, it's simple fucking math.
So why are you fighting him? You lost lane
I wasn't.
in
He
Olaf
fucking
into Mordekaiser,
he pulled
and
me. What do you
you
mean?
got first blood level 1 free. By the way, so I don't want to hear nothing. Anyways, regardless, decent performance. If I were you, I would be happy. I'm number 7. I think 7's still a generous and good spot for you. Like I'm just bringing you down because you think you're way higher, but I think 7's still a really good spot for you. I think you're playing fine, but just not nearly as good as you think you're playing. So I think 7's good where you're at. Asuna hasn't played, but he's having decent performances. Banana, not the strongest performance. Still find himself in the lower of the middle pack. Baruto, I still don't think I've seen a full game from him. I swear he like never
He has
plays
2
on like.
games. He has 2 games.
Okay, that's what I said. I swear the team never
Wawa has
streams or
only had
plays.
2 games. 2 games played so
Oh,
far.
really? Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that makes
That's
sense.
what
So
I
I
was
still,
mentioning earlier. Yeah.
yeah, there's still like a huge like question mark for me. But again, from the first 2 weeks and also based on how the other people are playing, I think right here's a good spot for him. Maybe below John Dye. John Dye looks a little better on the Shen, some good impact. I don't know why he's also fallen down like half CS every single game somehow, but like still a little more impact on the Shen, and I think he's definitely on an uptrend. Still nowhere near where he should be based on his rank, but definitely we're seeing signs of improvement. Ice Stack, I think also didn't play it right, but he just I don't know, he just finds stuff down here. He's just not
I
that.
like I said, he'll probably play Zach for the 11th
Yeah,
time.
he's just Zach Merchant, VLN, the 41 or whatever the fuck happened to them is fucking crazy.
Every 1,000-year dynasty, I don't even have
That
them
shit is crazy.
notes. I just have 41-0.
Yeah,
That's all I have.
he's not lying. He's not lying. But anyways,
We'll talk
but
about it tomorrow
regardless,
on the climb, so don't worry.
I still don't think I can put him below Doki regardless because I don't know Doki like I think game 2 they played just like went like 0-8 or some shit some crazy. I don't know why, but this dude literally refuses to take flash when you need to get flash. I don't know why he thinks he might know something that like literally 99.99% of league players who are better than him know more. But I don't know what his deal is, but that on top of him not being good, I don't see him leaving 14 anytime soon. But
Listen,
yeah, that's my top.
Frost gave it to him game 2. It was
Oh
so.
really?
Oh yeah, if you need to watch that VOD back because
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Frost the Aatrox.
yeah, no, Frost put in work. We'll talk about Frost when he gets there.
Yeah,
Frost put in motherfucking
yeah.
work.
So,
Frost put in work.
but yeah,
No.
never saw. Let's hear it.
Well, unsurprisingly, Owen number 1. I think sometimes he can be a little bit overrated with like his skill, or at least like right now. I've definitely seen like the performances where he just rips through teams, but sometimes he just gets too ahead of himself. Maybe it's the team environment, not really sure. But he's still number 1. Like nobody comes close in the top lane. The top lane pool is a little bit rough this time around.
It's kind of ass.
Yeah. One Cake I've seen some of and seems pretty good overall. I mean, just good, consistent like performances. The that Darius triple heal. Oh God.
Yeah, that was
It was a
crazy.
lot. My third one is going to go to Braun Cena. This one's a little bit of bias because I mean he is on my team. But I think overall his ability to play carry tops and play them pretty well overall is actually pretty big in this kind of top lane pool where like it's basically a bunch of just meh overall players for the most part, and it's just kind of like having a carry top who can actually like generally perform pretty well. You enable them a little bit, and they can just keep ripping apart side lane over and over, and it just makes it like pretty scary to play against. Gar, I put number 4 in spite of the rough performance. I think Gar is still just a good player overall. I think tends to be underrated a little bit more often than not, although last week it was definitely a more highly rated, but I think just thinking in the past with Gar in general. David in 5th, I couldn't really justify putting him any lower, but it's mostly like I think David is a solid all around player, but oh my God, please stop leaving your lane. You're every single like not every single game, but there are too many games to count where he will just leave lane and will make whoever the enemy top is into the literal incarnation of Thanos. And it happened even against Brissy. When Brissy is like 3 kills, 4 kills up, mega CS turret lead, you know something has happened pretty tragically. Um, and that's why, like, even though I think he's pretty good overall, like, please just focus on your lane a little bit more. I promise it will help a lot. But I couldn't really justify like moving him anywhere else because I think he's still better than anyone below him. I mean, Pathfic is mostly an Ornn player. It's kind of like probably like a less good version in that sense of David overall, but still very respectable on the Ornn. Like that is a problem. X-Ray kind of just put here because I think anyone below this point has kind of had some really rough performances overall, generally speaking, or just kind of eh. Um, but from what I've seen of X-Ray's gameplay, it's like pretty good overall. So just kind of smack dab in the middle, basically. Banana, I'm actually putting over Asuna, unlike what Jason has. And it's mostly because I think Asuna has just kind of been not great, and I don't think Banana has either. But I think Banana's generally been a little more impactful, I would say, and has maybe a little bit more of a saint of a champ pool from what I can recall. Um, but overall, those two are pretty interchangeable, I feel like, to be completely honest. Baratel just kind of 10th, I think, generally performing better than the people below. But again, we don't really have much data on this. So Baratel is kind of getting here, could go up a bit, could go down a bit. John Dye, like what Jason said earlier with the Shen, like the Shen looked pretty solid overall, still dropping way too much farm. But actually was doing some good stuff, which is definitely a better performance than whatever the heck was going on with like the Galio and the Rumble a little bit ago. Isodiadak, eh. I don't really have much to say. Plays Zac, does decent enough on it, but it's nothing like awe-inspiring, and it could become a weak point later on. Not really sure. And then this one, honestly, I feel like the reason that VLN is saved from 14th is because of the fact that Doki just refuses to take Flash. I've known a Doki for a long time at this point. I've mentioned this a couple of times before. Like I've known him from way back in like 2018, where if I remember correctly, he would run like TP Smite constantly as a jungler, and it seems that has spread over into the top lane. And yeah, no flash just is super abusable, and because of that, despite like I think they're pretty similar all things considered, the no flash is just like that's going to number 14 for me and VLN 13.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough assessment. But yeah, let's move on to jungle. Starting off, I'm going back to my tier system now. I only did it for top lane because that's my baby. Anyways, in the elite tier, Sprinkler, Morn, and TV. Sprinkler once again. Uh, Jason said it. Sprinkler's just kind of 1v9ing a lot of these games,
Great
and
performance. Great
yeah,
performance.
yeah, he's just kind of 1v9ing a lot of these games. So, and I mean, we all agree we actually have the same four four in the top, and Sprinkler more on TV Hootie, and so it's like it's not a really big surprise just because Sprinkler's playing well. More and we have literally 2 games of data, so it's more of like a respect pick. TV is kind of just been scaling really well with rookies and cream, and then finally Rudy. I said Rudy Hootie. Kind of had a rough week this week against um, Power of Friendship. Slop actually was keeping in pace with him a lot of the games, so I was very impressed with how he played. But my top tier Sulpan, along with Hootie and Firestorm and Adolfo. Sulpan hasn't played, but expecting him to be here. May pass Hootie depending on like how his performance goes this week. I can see him jumping up to that 4th spot, but probably no higher than that. Firestorm, even though he is, not winning games, he's still showing up and winning these like 1v1s in the jungle, which is really crazy, and he's doing a great job. And Madolfo, once again, or I wanted to put him lower, but I'm going to do the respect pick because he kind of got gapped by Sprinkler, but what he can't. I don't think he loses to anyone below him right now. To mine, that's what I'm saying. And then I got Cookies, Ryan, PPP, and Evaps in my mid tier. Cookies had a really solid series.
Cookies.
Ryan hasn't played, PP hasn't played, and Evaps 41-0. I'm gonna keep saying it. Yeah. And then my low tier Gator Slop went back down. Gator playing well but unable to win games. Slop won but played well into Hootie. But I think if we run it back, it looks a lot different. I think Hootie just kind of slop around, but maybe. And then I went back down. Won his first series, however, didn't seem to leave a super big impact on the map. It was pretty much just Pai destroying bot lane and Nico kind of slapping around Naki a little bit. So, but yeah, that's all I got for jungle. Never saw. Let's hear it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we touched on the first 4 players. I honestly haven't really actually seen Morn play, but this is just kind of more, again, like a respect thing because they should be quite good. Sprinkler is definitely the best jungler. I like until we at least see more from Morn, I don't think like TV is that close to Sprinkler at all. Morn seems like the only one that can likely contest if this like stays on track. Hootie has kind of been a little bit lackluster considering what is their are they a master speaker, I think, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I think it is low masters. Yeah,
Pretty like low points overall, if I
and you got
remember
one in the top
correctly.
lane with him.
He is a master, 6 points. Same
One
with
of the
Hootie
one of the 6 points.
and
Yeah,
Sultan
same with Volpan,
and
TV,
Hootie.
all those. So yeah, actually that makes more sense. I didn't realize that with TV. That makes more sense. They're doing well. But yeah, Hootie's been kind of like little on the lackluster side, but not like terrible by any means. Still putting up a good, like a solid performance. Firestorm Boxer, I was actually kind of surprised by. They just been doing pretty well overall. Like even though their team is kind of absolutely collapsing, they don't really have anything to play through. They're still putting in a lot of work. I definitely felt the receiving end of that when we played against them in week 2. This is the one where might be a bit of a hot take, but I end up putting PPP in 6th, and I think he is just a lot better at playing jungle than people give credit. I think, yes, you look at it and he has some really wacky stuff. I think there's sometimes some suspicious things like the Shyvana or the Lee Sin can be Mm, you know.
Italy.
Um, I mean, honestly, the Nidalee didn't even look bad. It looked like pretty good overall, which I was like surprised by. Obviously, the build was interesting, but like it actually looked pretty good. And I am biased. I did play a whole season
That's what I was
where
gonna
he
say.
was
I was
my
gonna say you're
majority
biased.
jungler. I am biased. We did win together, and it's
Well, Iron
mostly like
Pocket.
Yeah, true.
the Ivern pocket as well. Like there's a lot that he has going for him, and a lot of like weird picks where he will just suddenly play something, and I don't feel like it's gonna work, but then it like works. I've seen it with like he's played like Darius, he's played the Ivern, he's played the um he's even played Stylus Jungle in one of our games. There's like quite a number of things that he will just bust out, and it just works really well. And for me personally, I'm just like, okay, like the Gragas, of course, the J4. Um, so I think overall he's actually a lot better than people give credit for. And maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. Probably, if anything, it's more likely to go down from here than up from here if things maybe get a little rocky. But I have faith in him overall. And also the other thing with the person below Sulpan, I just haven't seen anything out of Sulpan that makes me go like, okay, this is like a good player. Like I think TV and Hootie had the other like 6 point players. They've had these moments where like, oh yeah, this is like a good player, right? But Sulpan has looked kind of invisible a lot of the time, which is kind of surprising when your mid laner is Gumby of all people, who's one of the most like probably I would say the most psychotic player in Summit right now, coming from one of the most psychotic players. And he will just ruin the enemy jungle's life. He will just keep playing like 1v2. And so you'd think that Sulpan could get a lot off that, but he's just kind of existing, I guess, which is kind of surprising. So I think it can definitely go up for Sulpan, but I just haven't seen anything that shows like otherwise. Um, and then I ended up putting Doffel down below Sulpan because I think Sulpan is still a good enough player that like warrants that respect to not just drop them into the void. Um, and Doffel just seems solid overall. Nothing crazy I've seen, but is not like constantly a liability. I'm not going to count getting capped by Sprinkler as a liability because this guy is currently running the league in the jungle. Um, Gourmet Cookies looked pretty solid again, like overall in the series, but it was again like nothing crazy. It was just like existing pretty solid. Um, and then these last couple ones are just kind of like I wasn't too certain on between like Ryan, Evaps, Slop, Gator. I just kind of put them in an order that was kind of more feel based than anything. Where they're all kind of in a similar playing field right now, and I think they can definitely go up. I'm the most surprised by like Gator just seems to have lost a bit of his footing since like going from being in like the finals to just it's just not looking amazing. Maybe it's like a team dynamics thing. Maybe it's just personal play picks. There's a lot of things that we don't know for certain. I can't know without viewing their entire team, like dynamics and everything. But that's why I just kind of put Ryan, Evaps, Slop, Gator. It's what I felt, and I do want to shout out though. Won't back down. They did end up getting put in my 14th spot, but I think it's just because there is still going to be like putting anyone below won't back down just feels like disrespectful to those players. But I want to give respect to won't back down for like actually continually like getting better, learning stuff, and just looking not like the rank that they are listed as at all in like a very positive way. So I really want to like drive home that point that even though they're in 14th, like they are on the up and up for sure.
Yeah, sure. All right, Jason, hit me with it.
Okay, I'm probably gonna breeze past a little bit because honestly, I probably have very, very similar sentiment to everything that Eversaw said for most all the players. So I'll probably try to go pretty quick. Sprinkler, honestly, crazy jungle gap. I ain't gonna lie. I'll probably talk more about when we go to Dolphin. Morin hasn't played yet. Again, I think he's also probably the only other one that can currently compete with Sprinkler. He's still yet to be seen, obviously, because their team has like no fucking matches. But we'll see. TV has been looking really solid since week one. He's definitely on the up and up, though. I think he's strong in third place right now. Hootie again, looking a little sus, but still better than the ones below him. Firestorm, very impressed with him. I've been a Firestorm merchant since week one. That's all I'm saying. I've been uh, preaching his stocks literally since week one. This dude's fucking nice. His team's fucking doomed, but he it literally is putting in work every single game. He probably has like the most impact of any of these junglers early game. I think honestly, like the entire list. I think. Um, Sopin, same. Like yet to see too much. I think he has a lot of potential, but we just haven't seen yet. Adolfo, I'm gonna be the first to say it. I'm gonna make an excuse for him. He probably won't even make it himself, but he literally was at a party for his sister's birthday, and he was quite literally at the party. We heard in the background like fucking mad music, motherfuckers talking. He was like six fucking Modelos deep, and he still like, you know what I'm saying? So look, I ain't the one to
Okay,
make excuses, but he
you
kind
know
of
what?
valid.
You know what? We also had
That's
a
all I'm saying.
player at a party as well.
That party wasn't lit like Fire or like Adolfo's party was. That shit was that shit was bumping. So that's all I'm saying. So even yes, that game was a crazy jungle diff. I'm not gonna lie. Adolfo had some shit going on with him, and he still did decent. And he still had really strong performance in the past. So I think where he's at right here in the middle is a fine spot. Moves me down to PvP. Honestly, I agree with Neversaw. I think he is a bit underrated right now, but I still haven't seen enough to put him that much higher. But he's still like still strong. I think again, like Jungle's a crazy strong role. I think like number 10 on like I was saying, I think number like 12 Gator would still be like number like skill wise would be like top four in top lane. You know what I'm saying? So like Jungle's a weird one to look at when you're just looking at the numbers. But SKVap's a little rough week, but I still think he had really strong performance in the past, so you can't drop him too low. His whole team kind of just like collapsed. Cookies, he's been doing better. I think he's found his niche. He's definitely on the up and up a little bit, but just not enough to move him any higher. Ryan, same deal. I think he's been doing decent on the Skarner. His team's kind of fucked too, but decent. Gator, decent. I probably I think maybe like 9 through like 12 or 13 could probably get interchanged very quickly throughout the weeks.
Hmm.
But this is how I see it right now. Gator 12, he's doing fine. Honestly, his team's just kind of doomed as well. It's just like you got to play like his bot lane's the carries, bot and support, but he just seems like he's not getting much help, and he's kind of just forced like bouncing between like tanks and carries, and he doesn't really know exactly how to play with his team yet. Slop, it's like middle of the pack, decent. He's 13th, but I still think it's like fine. And then I won't back down. I won't back down. I will say as well. I also want to shout out same thing. He's definitely on the up and up. He's doing great. For his rank in consideration and previous performances, he's definitely doing a lot. He's definitely improving. So I don't know if he'll ever climb out of 14, maybe 13, but at the moment he's still stuck at 14. But yeah, I do want to say he's playing. He's improving quite a bit.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, and McManus might be able to make a playoff run depending on how the rest of their games go. So,
They're
but
bouncing back.
they might be able to bounce back. But let's move on to our mid lane pools.
This is
Nah,
insane.
no, no,
This is why
no,
people don't
no,
be
no,
giving you no. This is why you lose all your credibility because you do shit like this. You
no,
can't be
no,
doing
no,
this.
no, 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 no,
You cannot be doing this.
no. You're gonna get one chance to explain yourself, and you better have
This is
a
why you
damn
lose
good
credibility, dog.
explanation.
Oh man, I'm cracking up, bro. Listen, listen, Loco.
Listening.
Even though he ends sometimes, I'm saying this
Mm-hmm.
guy
Uh-huh.
is definitely the best man in this league right now. That's all I got.
No,
That's all I got. Listen,
Your-
Gumby.
your-
Who,
your
who
notion
cares
is
about
denied.
who cares about Gumby? Listen, okay, I'll be honest. I ranked all my team besides myself number one. Okay, like we're on top, bro. We're on top of the world right now.
You
So
put Enderfish first too? Oh yeah, you're bugging out. See, that's why you got no credibility, dog.
nah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
That's why you ain't got no credibility.
Listen, just go wait till we get to support. Everyone's gonna be screaming at me then. But on the real though, I think Gumby is definitely number one. Never saw two. And okay, Sai is this low because Sai only played one game. Um, and I thought these other people ahead of them, Nico and Array, I think had really good performances. Nico actually kind of hard stomped game two. Game one it wasn't terrible, but I think Pai was really Pyrosis was the better carry in that game. And then Array, I mean, do I need to say it again, bro? Bro just took his team and was like, "Ayo, no one died this game," and they proceeded to do it. It's crazy because it wasn't even like a game one or two; it was a game three, and which I think is even worse.
That's crazy.
So, and listen, I think size one game on Swain was solid, but I only have one game, and I thought Cisco mid was pretty crazy. Frost, honestly, a crazy game by Frost this week. The Yone was destroyed Vossler in the mid lane. And then they did a 4-man swap. Someone admins did like a 4-man swap, and Frost actually went top lane, which is his main role, and he buried Doki.
Oh, he's a fucking top main?
Yeah, he's a top man.
Today I
Bro,
Holy
learned.
shit.
Bro,
That makes sense.
bro
Because he was fucking working
buried
him in the top lane.
buried Doki. Like
Worked his shit.
it wasn't even close.
He fucking worked his
Was
shit.
what we call what is it, a slobber knocking?
Fucking belt the
Sure,
ass. That shit wasn't
sure,
even.
sure. Let's go. Whatever you can think of, it's probably
Oh,
that what
no.
Frost did to Doki. So, and that's like my elite tier, top tier, middle tier. I have Odysseus, Hamea, and Naki. Odysseus rough week into Sprinklers Tinklers. Hamea hasn't played. Expecting him to be here though. Naki had a really good game one, really good picks. But his game two, the Aurora, was not great. Uh, there were some uh, there were some okay ultimates, but there were also some really bad ultimates in my opinion. So, um, but that goes with that. And my budget tier, I really I'm looking at this list and I'm realizing my fuck up here. Okay, not Loco first. That's correct. I planned that. Flash of Night being 11th is wrong. He should actually be like 14th, honestly, this week. But realistically, he's probably 13th and 41-0, by the way. And then World Soup and My Hot Daddy and Vossler. I think, and I have this as a budget tier this week. I think when you get these players in a game, you
Budget
aren't
here is crazy.
you aren't expecting them to carry. However, you know where you're gonna get when they're in the game. You're not, they're not gonna hard carry. You know, maybe they'll go even, go down like 20 CS or something like that, but they're not gonna stomp a lane. And if they do, it's purely out of coincidence, in my opinion. So, but yeah, that's my list. Jason.
One Gumby. I don't know if he played this week, but like every week, I don't think I've seen one even remotely mediocre performance from him.
Yeah,
Every game, his impact is insane. He fucking always popping off. 1v2 in the jungle wall game. It literally it's just up to his team. If they
yeah.
don't int, they'll just fucking run
Gumby
away with the
never
game.
saw My Hot Daddy and Hamea have not played this week so far.
But regardless, the dude's fucking insane. We've seen it. But that being said, the top five in this whole mid lane pool is fucking stacked as fuck. It's probably the most stacked top five, I think, out of all the roles, and also that we've probably ever seen in Summit. Never saw, obviously didn't play, but still a great player. Sai, same, played one game, but still very methodical, very great. I do think Array and Nico can creep into that 2-3 range. I think top five, honestly, could potentially move around. But Array, like, again, Array and Nico both had very great series, just like last week. But, I mean, Array, like, the 41-0 was crazy. The Corki, I think game one was fucking crazy. He's just popping off. He's gapping the fuck out of these mids, and he's pushing up with it. He's doing what he's supposed to do. So you got to respect it. Put him at 4. He definitely could look up, go higher. We'll see. We got to look at some more head-to-heads to really determine it. But as of right now, I think safely put him here. Nico, another great performance. I wouldn't say as strong, objectively probably not as strong as a Rays, but I also think a Rays team is just is like significantly better. So again, the games are so much easier when you have better teams. But a Ray is a huge part of that. I don't want to discredit him for that. Odysseus, I mean, I think he honestly had a decent week, all things considered, despite us getting kind of stomped. He did fine. We kind of troll picked. We kind of fucked around. Honestly, it was really. I'll talk what's probably the team, but it was really like crazy jungle and comp diff more than anything. I think all the laners actually played fine. Not to hate on my jungle too much, but Anyways, Loco, I think he's another great. He despite him not being maybe not the strongest lanes, it's just not the strongest overall player. I think he plays for his team really well. I know that from experience too. He's great. He's a great supplementary player to have. He's who you would want in your lanes. Like his Galio, like the impact was great. He was getting stomped in lane, but the ults were great. He applies good pressure. So I think he's solid where he's at right now. I still don't see him moving too much higher. Maybe this if he starts popping off and getting more consistent. But I definitely don't see him dropping either though. So he's looking strong. Strong middle of the pack mid. Frost and again I don't know what Elo he's supposed to be, but he's like I don't know if he's budget, but he seems like a crazy budget player.
He is a budget pick. He is
If this dude's anything like lower than Emerald, he's fucking
Emerald 3.
going crazy. Okay, so still pretty low, but for Emerald 3, still playing like really well. He popped off this week against Vosser. Yeah, he struggles against the higher people, which is why I have him here. But I do think he's playing. He's like can pop off against the lower players pretty well. So put him here. Haumea still have yet to see too much to put him any higher, but I think he has a potential. He's definitely a very skilled player. I definitely could see him jumping up if he gets a little more consistent and starts playing with this team. This team just starts playing a little better. Naki, I think he's definitely slowly showing signs of improvement. He's kind of like in the John Dye boat for me, like where you expect they're supposed to play much better according to the rank, but they have not been. But they are slowly improving, and that's what we're seeing. So still nowhere that they should be, but they're definitely improving up. Mahat Daddy, same as like the rest of his team. Like never see these motherfuckers play. I can only assume he's probably right here based on the other people around him. This feels right, and then you kind of get the lower tiers, the next three kind of grouped together. Soup, Flash Knight, Vossler, all like very similar players at this point. They're all just like kind of weak. You expect a little more. Sometimes they can do pretty decent, but over for the most part, they're getting kind of washed by even like the middle tier people. Um, I think I think they have potential. Like we've seen Soup and Flash in the past, kind of have Frost similar performances. We just haven't really seen that this year. They haven't gotten the groove yet, so we'll see.
For sure. Alright, never saw.
Okay, so I mean, as much as it pains me to do a power ranking and like put someone above me, I do have to fully admit, like even if I had a good game versus Gumby personally, one of the games, from week one, I think
Right.
overall Gumby has just shown a better performance than me. So I think no matter how biased I can be, it's completely unfair to put myself any higher than like, or rather higher than Gumby. I think he's a very good overall player. A little perhaps too psychotic sometimes. But that kind of style does thrive a lot in just a lot of like draft league environments where there's a lot of like varied elos. When you have those players that are just absolutely gung ho, they can quite literally just like basically execute an entire team on their own. Which we have quite literally seen Gumby do with the Talon, one of those games. Um, so definitely the player that I have to respect by far the most in lane. Obviously, I mean myself. I put myself second. I think I've at least put a good enough showing to show that I'm still like one of the top players. And I think also, side note, I still have not played my Ori or Akali, which are supposed to be my best picks. I should probably be doing that more, but
No more smolder.
I'm a little bit of a dumbass.
No more smolder. No more smolder.
No more smoldering. No, the lethality coming in next patch. Just you wait. It's gonna be even worse because then I'm gonna Giga Snowball. um, but Sai is my number 3. I definitely respect Sai a lot, and I think I couldn't really place Sai any lower than 3. Not necessarily higher because me and Gummy exist, but I think if there's like neither of us here, I think for sure Sai is like the best mid. Has very unique champions and is just a good overall player. So, um, fourth was where I actually also put Array because I think Array is kind of on the up, and I think Array will surprise a lot of people with how they play. Both Array and Nico, they're kind of like grouped in the same tier, and I think Array's just shown a little bit more performance overall, and I think that's like definitely something to look out for. But of course, Nico is no slouch. He's one of these top 5 for sure. And I don't really think that that's probably going to change this top 5 for mid lane. Like I think maybe players will get shuffled around, but I don't feel like 6 onward or 6 below can really break into the top 5 unless somebody just starts like absolutely choking and just basically pulling, as we would call it, pulling a boredom card or something. um, and Loco, I ended up putting 6. I was kind of debating between Loco or is that Odysseus?
Yep.
Odysseus? Okay,
Odysseus.
cool. I was kind of debating between which one to put in 6th or 7th, and I decided on Loco in 6 because I think Loco actually has like, I think he overplays his hand with how many like picks he thinks he can play, but he's also just a good enough player as a default to kind of get away with it against a lot of players. And I think that's actually a very scary quality that you have to be wary of, that like you need to be just aware that like even if he's not going to be amazing on the pick, he's still just going to generally put in decent impact. And I think that's what puts him above Odysseus, where I think he's a little more pigeonholed with like a lot more of these assassin picks I've typically seen. So a little bit lower, but I think they're both still above what I've seen from Frost. Although Frost actually surprised me. I was literally watching this with Jason and I was commenting on the Yone and I was like, what the heck? This guy is like actually playing this like well. um so a lot of respect for Frost, but I think it hasn't shown as much to be placed higher, but I think definitely deserves that like upper, or I guess it's still in like the middle, but starting to creep towards the upper middle echelons. Naki, I ended up putting above Hamea just mostly because I think Naki has some really obnoxious picks that even if they're not an amazing like not an amazing performance at all. Um, but I think like things like Lissandra and Nico and kind of also forcing a Kiana ban basically every game because nobody wants to actually deal with that. I think overall that puts Snacky a little bit higher than Hamea, but I think they're honestly pretty close overall. Um, Hamea, I honestly haven't really seen much of, and I try not to let my biases from last season and just my own experience and stuff cloud like what I think of Hamea. And so that's why I think it's like 9, 10. It's somewhere around there. I think you could change those two, and it would make perfect sense. I think there's no way you could drop Hamea to like 11th at all. Like I think 11, 14, that's also pretty like that's pretty secured unless something happens to like Naki, where Naki just completely like falls off a cliff, I guess. But I really doubt that's going to happen. It looks a little bit better overall for them. So, and then yeah, the bottom 4. I mean, I don't think there's too much to say. I haven't seen too much of My Hot Daddy, and but seems fine. Probably a little bit above the other 3, and the other 3, it's like they exist. Got a lot of RE players. Uh, they're kind of just chilling. So that's
Yep.
basically all I got.
That makes sense. Yeah, I definitely can feel the RE players soup Flash and we haven't seen Vossler play yet, but I bet
Got the Vagar.
got the Vagar, which is basically a non-moving Ari. So, but yeah, let's move on to the ADCs. So starting off,
This is fucking crazy too, by the way.
them,
Oh,
You're no
I just-
overall the overcorrections you do. I'm specifically at Shram. Every week, I swear to God, he's either like third or 10th for you. The overcorrections is crazy, dog. You gotta look at it like there's gotta be a cumulative basis in here.
no.
But I swear you forget about every week prior whenever you watch new series.
I'm gonna be honest.
Pretty sure
Okay.
you got
Oh
Shram
no
like
no no! I actually
12th
okay.
last
I have
week.
a good reason why he's here. Okay.
okay.
Okay. Them. Listen, them played really good this week. Actually, had a pretty good carry performance on the Caitlyn both games. Really solid.
Dog did
At,
not carry shit. No hate to them, he ain't carry shit, gang. Look at the fucking message, sir. Look at the report. Sprinkler most damage both games. That motherfucker's in our shit.
Okay, sure, if that's what you
He played
think.
fine. He played well, but that's not. Let's be real. We don't care.
Listen, Azrael. Listen, bro has no games, bro. I can't take any predictions on where to put this guy. I don't know him. I don't even remember his 2 games played because one of them wasn't even streamed. So I
Really
don't.
look at the strand. I'm not even worried about the theme, honestly. It's really the strand, like the bouncy, like
Okay,
from top 4 to bottom 4 every week from you. It's crazy.
listen. Pycro, I thought actually had a really good showing versus Loon and big dummy. So that's why he's here. Strand, okay, listen. When you out CS and outperform King Caterwall and Lightsphere, yeah, Lightsphere, um, one in a 2v1, and you're just out CSing them in every game. I want to
Or he's like
reward
perma on
that.
Kate. That's what Kate's do. Kate Seraphine and Lightspear just leaves lane. Like, what do you expect?
So he
And
played.
also,
So
do
he
you
played
forget about
Kate.
every other week that happened?
Yeah, I
Do you
was
forget
gonna
about all
say,
the
does
previous
this
weeks?
say more about Strand or more about Caterwall with what's happening?
I mean,
You forgot about all of Strand's previous weeks, huh?
no.
No disrespect to Strand. I think you did. It's fine. Keep going.
Pyros is really good week. Even though it was against Yuhuzi and Hamilcar, I thought he played really well. Game one, game two was pretty solid as well. Jason, rough week into Thim, but overall solid. I don't think Jin Brom was the way to go, but I am not going to get into it. So my middle tier is Goblin Sporadic Affection and Loon. Goblin Sporadic and Affection haven't played yet, and Loon 41-0. And then finally, King Caterwall joining the low tier just because, and I'll talk about it tomorrow in the climb, but he is not playing at a level that he needs to be at. And I understand like last played when he played against us, he went like deathless in game 2, but when you go deathless and still lose the game, you're probably doing something wrong. That's
Yo, his team's ass. What do you want from him?
no, his solo lanes are ass. His jungler and support are playing fine, I
His
would
support
say.
inted his ass last week. So that's all I'm saying.
And then yeah, my low tier Sauce, Bird, Yuhuzi. Sauce played well, and Bird and Yuhuzi kind of struggled this week. That's all I really got for the ADCs. So yeah, never saw.
I mean, this was really a struggle to try and figure out how to rank this. And I don't even know, like, if I were to run through this again, I might just reorder some of these people, to be completely honest.
Same.
Searle at top, we have no data, but honestly, they should be really good. This is more of like a respect thing of just like, unless they prove otherwise, it seems fair to put them there because they should theoretically be better than any of the other players right now that are playing um in ADC. Um Thim, I've generally held a lot of respect for, and I think it's been proven with some pretty good performances. So I think rating Thim outside of top three with how shaky everything else has looked is just completely criminal. Um, I kind of put Jason in three. Just looks like pretty solid overall in the ADC, and I think everyone. Here's the biggest point. I think anyone below this top three has some like either serious drawbacks or they're just like, eh. In comparison, like, and so it's just like I can't really rate Jason any lower than top three. It's like the same as them. Like these two are at least like generally putting in good performances, even if it's not like a master class or whatever, right? But it's like you compare that to, I'll talk about Pyrosis. Pyrosis, like when on point, looks like pretty good, but oh my God, does he just absolutely sprint it sometimes? And it's like I can't put him any higher because it's just like it's so kind of like flippy, right? And same thing, putting Rob in fifth is definitely a bit more of like a respect. Like for me, I don't see how I could put him lower. I think their teams seems to be struggling overall, so it's hard. It's harder for an ADC player if your team is struggling. You will often start looking worse by default. Especially if you're having, if there's any problems with like support as well. Not saying there is in any circumstance, just that can add to it as well. Bot lane is just a whole dynamic, and for me, I think putting Rob any lower, just he's had solid performances generally. Um, Caterwall, I still ended up putting sixth, and I just couldn't justify, like, even though Caterwall has just been very much underperforming, I think the team that they're on is pretty rough, and I can't like justifiably put them any lower than this because I think there is a noticeable skill gap from 6 to 7 in this list. And so putting Caterwall any lower is just kind of, again, like, oh, way, way too disrespectful in my eyes. And I mean, I hope they can do better, but it's looking rough for them in the bot lane. Both of them for that matter, but definitely Caterwall. Sporadic, a little bit of bias for the 7th pick for sure. But I think Sporadic has just been quite good overall. I think it's funnily enough kind of made people pick Kog'Maw B1 and then turn it into like a Kog'Maw mid a few times, which is a little bit strange. But I guess we take those. But I think overall Sporadic's like a pretty good player. Being able to pilot, something like the Kog'Maw is actually like a really good back pocket pick because then it's like, okay, everybody's focusing on like me, focusing on like, top lane or whatever, and then it's just like you have a third carry, right? Even if it wasn't like on my team, it's like you just have an additional carry threat where like you can't ignore a Kog'Maw. That champ will shred through. So just stuff like that is already like really good. Um, Cronus, Strand, and Luton, I think are kind of like in a similar tier for me. I think Strand definitely had some good performances. And Pecronus, Pecronus, I think that's. I hope I'm doing that correct, saying that correct. My brain, it's slowly like kaboom. Um, but I think they're all in like a pretty similar tier overall. Pretty respectable, like standout performances sometimes, but overall just kind of existing. And I ended up putting Affection a bit lower because I think like when he's been off, it looks really rough in comparison to the other ones above him. But I think when he's like on, it's like it's definitely been looking pretty good overall. So definitely no lower than 11th for sure. And then the bottom three, I'll actually get to Sauce in a moment because there's something I wanted to talk about with that. Bird Person and Yahuzi are just kind of, I would keep them where they are. I don't think they're like interchangeable. I think Bird Person's had some actually pretty solid performances. Yahuzi's not looking very awe-inspiring. There's not really much else for me to say. But Sauce of Legend, this is actually something to do with Strand as well, and just in general, something I even noticed from last season when I was playing with both Ryan and PPP in the bot lane. Caitlyn has been doing a lot of work for a lot of these players. And I think one of the biggest benefiters is actually Sauce of Legend. And I think Sauce has looked great on the Caitlyn. If we were just ranking purely off the Caitlyn, I would probably put Sauce up to like definitely middle tier. But the thing is in some cases we actually haven't really seen enough of them off it. And like the few times that we have, it's like ended up in defeats and just not the most inspiring performance. And even with like Strand into like the Caterwall light duo, like it's just like it just seems like the Caitlyn is doing a lot for a lot of the lower ranked players, which is like that is a completely valid thing that you should be abusing. Like force people to have to respond to the fact that you're doing this, but it also makes it kind of hard to power rank because then it's like how good are they overall? Is it just like this one champ? Do they have multiple champs? So it's a little hard with that, but that's pretty much why I ended up putting Sauce 12th, even though I think on Caitlyn they are definitely higher in the rankings overall.
Fair. Fair. All right, Jason.
Okay, again, pretty similar sentiment to Nersa for most of these, maybe a little bit different rankings I'll go through. I think Astro again, despite very limited info, just based on playing with him and what limited we have seen, and also really due to the lack of other ADCs, I default to number one. I think he's probably just objectively the best ADC right now, but we'll see. I think me and Tim are definitely in the up and up. Definitely not the strongest performance by me this week, but I think honestly, like the comp and the junk diff was just fucking insane, and I just didn't see enough from Thim to really
Whoa, that's
put him
crazy.
above me.
That's crazy.
Um,
That's crazy.
is it really? Go back and look
We
at the
do
game.
we do a little bit of coping in this.
Go back and
The
watch. I'm just saying, yo, Thim, that motherfucker had like 13 and 2 on Kate game one and still did like third most damage on his team. That's the
Yo, I'm
definition of
clipping
casing.
this.
But
I'm clipping
anyways,
this. Sending it to them right now.
but regardless, Demi's still my boy. Obviously, still in the top three. I think the top three, like Naruto said, is pretty cut. Like I don't see either of us dropping below any of the people below us at the moment. Dem solid performance, but again, the jungle diff was fucking insane. Just completely changed the course of the game. Like I came out of lane, at least game one, I think like up like 20, 30 CS. Someone fact check that. And then game two, I think was pretty even. But then after that, the game kind of just blew open. But anyways, I kind of defaulted Goblin to fourth, not necessarily due to his play, but due to like the poor play of everyone else below him. So that's kind of where I put him. Like Never said, I think ADC is super hard this
Really?
week. I think like four through like in my opinion, like four through nine are all like very interchangeable at this point in time, week to week. But despite not playing, I think Goblin still had pretty strong performances overall. It's really, again, ADC is probably the hardest role to play when your team's not doing well, and so his team's obviously been doing horribly, and he still managed to put out decent performances. So I think he's pretty strong. Caterwall, pretty much the exact same thing I just said for Goblin. Team's kind of anything. Yeah, he definitely should be doing more in the bot lane, and I probably justify putting him lower. But again, the people below him, I just can't, due to past performances, overall consistency. I still can't put Caterwall below the people below him, despite him not having the best performances. Pyrosis. Like again, strong performance this week against Yahuzi. We see that he definitely has carry potential, but again, he literally ints like every other fucking minute. So it's hard. He does create pressure. He does create gaps. He does know how to gap his opponent and go look for plays, but sometimes it seems like he has no filter and he'll just do it regardless if it's the right play or not. And then halftime it works, halftime it doesn't. So this time it worked this week. We'll see if it works next week. But still pretty strong. I think he has a high potential. Pickerness, I think he had a really strong showing this week, but again, I think he looks strong this week, but I think he's a bit one of the ADCs where it definitely is a bit inflated based on his team's performance. Um, I think he's a Rays ADC, right? And like Array and TV just like fucking ran away with the game, and he's just falling along. But he's again seven still solid, still did fine. Still strong ADC. Luton same. Was at the receiving end of a crazy ass whooping, unfortunately. But I still think he's a pretty strong ADC, bit inconsistent. Yeah, you might expect more out of his rank. Plus being paired up with Big Dummy, they're definitely losing some lanes they probably shouldn't, and could be doing more, but still decent. Sporadic, didn't play yet, but I still think he's very solid, like stable ADC. I don't think I've seen one bad performance from him yet, but I also don't think I've seen one crazy good performance from him yet. Um, Tran, again, just a crazy inconsistency. We saw him get absolutely demolished, I think like a week or two ago. When he's off Caitlyn, it looks pretty sus, but when he's on Caitlyn, he gets when he can bully his bot lane, he looks pretty well. But just inconsistent. I think I've only ever really seen him perform on Caitlyn, maybe Sivir. I can't really think of anything else. So, I
He
mean, that
played
alone.
he played Jinx last week and won
Okay,
and
that
played
just because you
well.
win doesn't mean you play well, though.
He played
I
well.
think the Kate and Sivir, yeah, they're like the main two I think of. Past that, I'm also like, eh.
Yeah. So I find like for me, I think 10th down is like the lower tier ADCs, but I think I definitely see him at the top end of the lower tier. And on his good days, he can bleed well into like the upper mid tier. But overall, I still have not seen enough consistency from him or carry to warrant anything higher. Pretty much exactly what Neverson said for Affection. When he looks good, it's great. When he doesn't, it's pretty rough. We saw him against Shren. Looked like he got gapped a bit. But still, I think more consistent to people below him, maybe. I don't know, see 11th to 13th is probably pretty interchangeable. I think Sauce Legend had a better, whatever his last game was, I think it was against Bird Person, yeah. And I think he just had a better
Yeah.
showing. But both pretty, I mean, solid low elo ADCs. About what you'd expect. Nothing to hate, really. I think they're doing fine for what they are. This is where they end up. Yahuzi, pretty rough week for him. I think he definitely was showing some signs of improvement. I don't know if he got subbed out game two or they like decided to play with someone else, but um, the replacement looked pretty solid for being like whatever elo it is. But I think he's definitely shown signs of improvement, but I still think that shit's kind of doomed having an ADC that low when the competition of ADCs like the average is pretty damn high. I think it's pretty rough for him.
Hamilcar is silver 3.
What is Yahuzi?
Yeah,
Film maybe or off
yeah,
roll?
Yahuzi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
P1,
top laner.
Oh.
top laner.
P1's crazy. You got to set his. I don't know that team.
Oh,
Like I said last week, you got to shift that team around. That team, you can't have Husey on ADC straight up if you want to do anything.
yeah.
So,
A plat getting replaced by silver and having probably better performances is kind of
well,
crazy.
I think you can't have the low elo player play ADC.
Not when the ADC is like the average for this ADC season is probably like well in the diamond. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't.
so I think like like Banana would have to do it, but I don't think he plays any other role, or I haven't seen him play any other role.
They got to
So,
figure something. They got to do something. They got to move Yahuzi out. The ADC role average is too high for him to be. He's going to be getting crazy gapped every game. It's too much.
but yeah,
That's it though.
let's move on to our support. Um, taking a
Fucking dude.
quick note.
Dog. He like.
I'm not even gonna grace this with words. I'm just gonna give this the like most
Listen,
fierce thumbs down
Enderfridge,
I can possible.
Listen,
You really don't be watching shit. Your
listen,
bot lane rankings are so
what do
abysmal
you
every single week.
mean?
ADC and support.
Bro.
Horrid. Stick to top lane.
Bro,
That's crazy.
bro,
This is crazy.
Enderfridge. Listen, all I'm saying, Enderfridge. He's the best Maokai support I've ever seen. Who cares
Honestly,
about BBQ Leona? Who
What
cares?
that honestly, you put your own teammate first, whatever troll, that's fine. Why the fuck is Spearman above Big Dummy?
Okay.
Are you serious?
Okay, listen. Big Dummy. He lost the game 41-0. Okay? That's terrible.
You got such a gold brain when you talk about League. It's so crazy. Seeing it real time.
Spirit Man, I think had objectively a better series than Big Dummy this week. Okay?
Are you admitting that you do not look at things even remotely cumulative? Not even like 1%?
Okay, maybe
Is that what you're
this
admitting
week,
right now?
maybe this week I'm just looking at week 5 game. Ever thought about that? Or
That's what I'm asking you.
week 4.
That's what I'm asking.
I have no clue. I'm gonna be honest.
Clearly. Okay, keep going.
Um,
You good, you good.
yeah. Listen. Big Dummy is probably still number 1, but I think Spearman overall
Probably still number
Probably.
had
Oh,
one.
had
Probably still
had
number one.
had a better week this week. Okay.
Probably still number one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen.
shit.
Listen. Enderfridge is better than Big Dummy. Okay. That's probably a mega copium. Okay. But yeah, that's my top 3. My top tier: Pony, Ilya, Tubby. Pony had a really solid series. Ilya didn't play, but I expect them to kind of be here. The sub was really solid as well. Tubby did all right, but not anything too crazy this week. Mid lane, or my middle tier, I have Leona, Sifra, Light, GamerD, and Brissy. Sifra didn't play. BBQ Leona had some great plays around the map, but is still struggling to find that first win. Like game 2 had a extremely rough pike. Never hit an R execute on the pike. And you can fact check me
That
on
do
that
be
one.
rough.
So yeah, he never hit an R execute, which that's like the whole thing about his kit is like you're able to just execute people with this massive R. Well, not massive, but you know what I mean. Gamer D hasn't played, and Brissy just had a rough week. Dithim and Enderfridge. And then my low tier, Alturas, KitKat, Sloth. No one has played in this tier, so I didn't know where really to put them. So I just set them here for the time being. All right, Jason. Let me just hear how wrong I am.
I mean, we know every single week. It's a known thing that your support list is fucking insane.
All right.
Just
Okay. How about
absolutely
this?
insane.
How about this? Next week, I'm gonna full dive. I'm gonna put everyone where they should be accurately through all the weeks.
That'd be that'll be respectable. We'll see. It's probably still gonna be fucked up, but
Listen,
it can't be worse than this.
Listen. I'll still fuck it up somehow.
You definitely will, but it can't get worse than this. But actually, no, never mind. The last week, honestly, this is actually not even the worst week.
Don't say that.
Yeah, this honestly
Listen,
ain't
I
even.
can
This
make
is
it
probably your
worse.
best week.
I can
Honestly,
make it
this
worse.
is probably your.
I could definitely
The most
make it
fucked up
worse.
thing is this is probably your best week of support, considering the past weeks. But anyways, I just want to start by saying I'm pretty sure like literally half these supports did not play this week, like legitimately half. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see.
But
Sifra.
yeah,
Let's see. Sifra hasn't played.
Ilya,
Im-
Sifra, Gamer, Altriz,
No,
Sloth,
KitKat.
KitKat.
I thought Gamer G played this week.
Oh,
Oh
I don't
no,
think he played this week
Gamer
yet.
D hasn't played yet. Sorry. Gamer
It's
D,
like 6 people.
Yeah, GamerD,
Alturas.
There's 4 games haven't get played, and then
Kip-
2 at sub.
KitKat,
2 there were 2
Sloth,
subs.
KitKat, Sloth.
Sifra.
That's 6. That's literally like fucking
And yeah,
game and a half.
Ilya.
Right, Ilya. Yeah, okay.
Crazy. Yeah, because there was 4 that matched,
did the
4 that
math.
haven't played yet, and then 2 that got subbed out. But anyways, Big W, obviously number one. That's never gonna change. Just like on the top lane. Light Spear was supposed to be the one that could compete with him. We still just haven't seen anything yet. Big Barbecue Leon, honestly, still very impressed with his performances early game. Him and Firestorm are like really making things happen in the early game, but like they have no lane to play through. They get to the mid late game and like they're all the people who are supposed to carry are just like fucking inting, and it's like they can't play the game. Yeah, he might be a bit of like only a snap engaged merchant we've seen so far. I don't know if we've seen any good enchanter performances quite yet, but his like Maokai Pantheon, the instant engage champs have been looking very, very strong. So they're like all these early games actually aren't even looking that bad for them, but then they just like the rest of the team just kind of collapses. Light Spear, honestly, I think he had a decent week. Some of the Pike R's were fucking atrocious. I don't know if he's ever played that champ before or what. He definitely could have been able to carry that game out, but nevertheless, still objectively a decent performance. Nowhere near again like where he should be based on his rank. But based on previous performances and this week being decent, I'll put him third. It's very shifty though. Onagapo, I think I had a really strong performance this week. Actually, I think it was them that played. I think Bard at the game, one of the games, right? And Bard was looking fucking
Yep.
crazy. I'm not
And
gonna lie, that the Bard was
Bard
looking pretty cracked.
Gaming.
I'm pretty hard to impress on Bard. I didn't watch the entire game like in depthly, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. But from the parts that I did see, the Bard was looking pretty cracked. Um, Ilya didn't play this week, but I just strong support. Has been fairly consistent besides their loss. Seems like a pretty big impact to their team. A big part of it. Spearman, I definitely think he's actually on a crazy improvement. I was one of his biggest haters when it started off because I thought he was playing horribly the first couple weeks, like or first week or two. But I think ever since like week two, he's been definitely steadily improving and getting back to where you would expect him to be. Still not where he should be based on his rank, but he's definitely on the up and up. Tubby, I think he had a pretty solid week, but just not. I didn't see enough craziness this week to really dispel all the previous weeks. Kind of like mediocre at best performances.
did
But
play
he's
mid
definitely on the up and
lane.
up.
Yeah, Tubby
Oh
did play.
yeah, I'll be the first one to say it. I think
Which
Tubby's mid lane is fucking ass. I think that shit is mad overrated. I ain't gonna lie.
Whoa, that's a
I'm
hot
the first one to
take.
say it. I think his mid is crazy
Wow.
overrated. I thought ever since last season when I actually watched him, I thought that shit was dummy overrated. That's my boy though. We just won a series in fucking Titans, so you know it's all love. That's my
Wow.
boy, and I think
Yo,
his support is cracked. I still think he could be top tier support in here, but I'll be the first one to say that mid is overrated. You should watch the first gank and how many opportunities he had to flash, and I swear he must be playing on 1,000
okay,
ping because that motherfucker
okay.
did
You
not
know what?
flash.
Okay, I was a little bit off board, but now that you say that, and I remember that gank,
That was crazy. It
yeah,
was crazy.
yeah.
I think was it
I'll get you.
Foster or no? Who was he laying
yeah, it
against? Was it
was,
Yeah, it was
wasn't it?
Vossler.
Foster was fucking running his shit on the Annie, bro. Like what the fuck?
Did
And
they
I think he
pick
picked,
Ari into Annie, which
which
is
is
like
crazy, yeah,
even
because
more
Yeah.
questionable?
which is crazy. Yeah, I don't know why he would pick that. And then also his champ pool comes. I don't even want to talk about Tuck mid. You're gonna get me on a tangent. Anyways, his support looked fine game one. Sifra, she ain't played this week, I believe, but it just looks to be a solid support. Haven't seen anything too crazy bump him up, nothing too crazy to lower him. I think they're all around just look like a well-rounded, solid support to have, nothing crazy. Brissy, I think a bit of a weaker side performance this week. No, still, I think he did okay. The communication was a little off, some things to work on, but still did fine. Especially for his rank, I still think he's playing pretty well, but definitely a bit of an off week for him. Gamer D, I think he's been struggling a bit overall. He had some solid performances. I think against Big Dummy was fine. But I think the Blitzcrank week was pretty rough, even beyond the Blitzcrank game. I'm not gonna lie, but the Blitzcrank was crazy. I still can't get over that. But so my boy, I still think he has high potential to easily could shoot up. Just haven't seen anything quite yet, but I got faith in him. Alter is pretty much the same thing. Honestly, like all these fucking players that haven't really played yet. I think they just haven't shown too much. Pretty inconsistent. I don't think they had any really even standout performances, but I think they all have a lot of potential. Alters included, Stealth included. And honestly, I feel bad putting like KitKat last. I think he's been playing pretty fine. I don't know. I just had to put someone like the support ranking is fucking hard. Like you probably interchange like the bottom fucking eight. Honestly, like somebody had to go there. KitKat, you my dog. Yeah, and then Enderfridge, I think he played fine. Pretty. I don't know. After actually finally landing against him, honestly, I felt he was like fairly invisible for the most part. He's just a solid, but he's a low elo budget pick. So for what it's worth, he's pretty solid. He's what you would want on a like for a low elo pick. I think he's playing as expected, but beyond that, I don't think there's like minimal, especially after playing against like minimal to no impact in the game. I honestly forgot he was in it, but still playing fine for what it's worth. For his rank and everything, all things considered. So.
Oh, that's so funny. Reminds me of
No, hey, no disrespect.
no. It reminds me of week one when we played rookies and Cream, and we kind of just shit stomped them. And I just was like, I don't remember anyone in this game.
And imagine feeling that in a loss, though. I just remember Sprinkler just fucking running our shit. That's all I remember.
All right, never saw.
Remember that?
Let's hear it.
Well, look, putting Dean any lower than first is still a crime, even with like the Draven incident. I think like
Yes.
he still had like a very good, funnily enough, a Kog'Maw ADC. I think he was top damage on playing
Yes.
Kog'Maw ADC, but support flavor.
No way,
Um,
actually, that's crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. I look at the damage charts and it's like, oh, Luton's doing pretty good on the Kalista, actually. I look and it's just Kog'Maw's got like 10k damage over everyone or something, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, fair. Um, so I think Dean is still the king of support right now. Pony, this might be a little bit of a high rating, but it's mostly just like I think Pony has been putting out some very good performances overall. I think with support ratings, half these players haven't played basically, and I think these are probably the most prone to shifting as time continues onwards. But Pony has been looking very good overall. I don't think they've had like terrible performances. I could be wrong, um, which is already a plus. Lightsphere, I actually this one, it's kind of like rough because I think he's just not quite found his footing. It could just be team environment. It could be a duo synergy thing, but I think there's moments where you can easily see that like this is a good player, right? And even though it's just not coming together right now, I still think like it's not quite at the point where I'm gonna rate him lower. Maybe next week, if it still looks pretty rough, maybe drops down one rank. Um, I'm also admittedly a little biased. I did play with Lightspear a little bit elsewhere, and he was definitely didn't quite look like this when we played. So I have some faith in that. But we'll definitely see with the upcoming weeks if that was misplaced, or if they are actually doing pretty solid. Spirit Man has actually been surprisingly impressive. Again, kind of like Pony. I think you could interchange these three right now, like Pony, Lightsphere, Spirit. Which is kind of surprising to say, but Spirit's definitely just been looking good overall. Barbecue Leona, I ended up putting in fifth because I think they have some good aspects above the other players, or I just haven't necessarily like seen enough of the players below to really bump them up. But I think BBQ can just kind of get ahead of themselves sometimes with some of these like engages and stuff. But it has looked like pretty respectable for sure. I think like if anything, the Pantheon has sometimes been actually a bit of a rougher point. It just kind of like it kind of does things, but then it like just gets in over his head basically. But overall pretty solid. Ilya, Tubby, Sifra, I think they're in a pretty similar grouping overall. I haven't really seen two of them play, but I'd assume they should be somewhere around each other. So I just kind of rank that one more on feel. This one, I ended up putting Enderfridge ninth. It's possible that if I were to do it again, maybe I'd put him a little bit lower. But I think Enderfridge has actually been a very surprising pick. Like they've just been doing a lot better than you would expect, even if they're not like a presence on the Rift in the same way that a lot of other players can be. They're not like actively causing any serious issues and generally performing pretty solid. So I think like that's very respectable overall. Gamer D has also just had some pretty good performances overall. I can't quite remember everything, but generally speaking, like just kind of solid. I think you could probably interchange those two if you really wanted. Brissy ended up putting it a little bit lower. Jason can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I feel like Brissy has played a decent amount of Rel.
There's some
Unless
games, yeah.
yeah. So like I put Brissy a little bit lower because Brissy is my goat, and I think he's definitely better at support than you'd expect. but I also think this is actually a similar case to the Caitlyn of ADCs is basically like the Rels for supports, where it's like it's a lot easier to look good on a Rel. I think that might change next patch because they're actually like practically gutting that champion with like a lot of like making tenacity actually do something and not just like 3 knockups that all you have to do is just grab someone in the field and they're just like chain CC'd and there's nothing they can really do about it. And I again like I don't want to discredit Brissy because I think he's been doing like pretty solid overall, especially on like a role swap. But I think a little bit more propped up potentially by the Rel. We'll have to see. Alturas, I just kind of dropped here because I haven't really seen too much, and I think Alturas can easily go up, but it's just kind of been like it's kind of the story of I feel like everyone on Final Boss except maybe like Rob a little bit is they just kind of existed, and that's about all I can say. And so it's just kind of like something's going rough there because everybody's just kind of existing for the most part, and it's not the best sign to say the least. But I think Alturas has some of the most potential to actually go like up. So we'll have to see on that. And then it does pain me to actually put Kiv in 13th, but I mean somebody's got to kind of drop down, and I couldn't drop like Alturas or like that all the way down. The one criticism I would have for Kiv is that he can get very in over his head with like just I'm going, and then goes in and like just explodes, right? Which I mean I still appreciate like the enthusiasm to just absolutely send it, but I think that's like a notable negative that is not as present in like the other players. I think the other players have like things here and there that are like kind of rough, you know what I mean? But he has a very obvious like, oh shit, that's kind of like causing potential problems with some of those engages. But I mean, I think we have like 2 games back to back or something, so we'll have to see how like his performance ends up being. But I think definitely better than people give credit for. Again, support rankings is just hard. And
Yo, I got KipCat 14 by the way.
KivCat
Put some respect on
14.
Sloth. On my power rankings, I had KipCat 14 and Sloth 13. I don't know why up here it's different. X-rays with the
Sure?
anti-Sloth agenda.
Are you sure?
Let's see. Hold up, hold up. We're fact checking.
I was
Fact
talking as
checking.
if KipCat. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Hang on. We're gonna.
X-ray is
Are
with the
we checking the
anti-Sloth
version
agenda.
history? Yeah, yep. Version history check.
Check
Hold
it.
up, hold up.
Check it. I like you. Nice. I like that. Yeah. Check it. Fact check me.
I can't.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't. Why
Exactly.
can I not
Fuck
move
with me.
to the right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For some reason I can't.
Look at the scroll at the bottom. The scroll at the bottom. The scroll wheel's at the bottom. To the
Bottom
bottom
left,
left.
bottom left.
Bottom left, gang.
Here we go. Hang on.
Yes. Go back.
Okay.
Go back to when I first made it. Yes. Yes. You part of the anti-sloth community. Yes. Fix
I
that.
call cap.
Yes. Oh, so now we're gonna act like version history's not okay. Bet. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Now
Yep.
we see.
All
I'll
right.
be honest.
X-ray denies facts in his face. He denies the facts. Now we
I'll
know.
be honest.
Chat. Now we know.
I
Chat. Now we
probably
know.
just skipped over it. I'm gonna be honest.
You on the
Listen,
anti-sloth agenda? That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I'm on a time limit every Tuesday to set up these overlays before your game finishes.
Bro, you got plenty of time for my games. You got like 3 hours.
No, I don't. Not
Yeah, from the time
if
it
you
starts.
2-0.
Give me 2 hours. At least 2 hours. From time from start time to pick
Kind of
bans
it
and all
took
that
like
shit.
what 2.5 hours? There were like so many pauses or some shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always pauses.
Anyways, let's move on to our final, our team power
Damn, you're not even gonna
rankings.
fix it. Sick.
Fine.
That's
All
me
right.
sick.
Hang on. Just so he can stop.
Emergency repairs.
Boom.
There we go. For the screenshot, because now the Sloth, Perma 14 looks
All
kind of
right.
crazy.
Boom. All right. Congrats, Sloth.
All
You
right,
went
bet,
up one
bet,
spot.
bet.
Let's go.
Hey, switch it up.
Anyways, let's move on to our team power rankings.
Fun part.
I'm gonna be honest. It's crazy that you guys don't have Sprinklers Tinklers first. I mean, we already beat
See what
them.
You'll hear
fucking-
my reasons soon. Don't
You
worry.
see what fucking Rooks and Cream did to these motherfuckers, dog?
Okay,
Teams
I
can't
understand.
improve since week one. Teams
I
can improve
understand.
since week one.
But what if happens when we do that to rookies and cream? Okay.
Do it again, and you can be first. Yeah, y'all be first then.
But yes,
Don't worry.
This rookies and
in
cream
all
is
We'll
not
get
the
to
serious,
my
same as
we'll
week
get to
one.
my reason. Don't worry.
in
I
all
Yeah,
I
serious,
got good reason.
in all seriousness though, I do have rookies and cream number 2. They're scaling like crazy. Like compared to week 1 to now,
Week one was crazy.
they're
Yeah.
they're playing out of their minds. Like I wouldn't say like I don't even know like what's Pat's Thick. Pat's Thick is a platinum 4 peaker, and
He's playing way better than that.
he's playing way better than that. And then I mean TV Array playing out of their minds, and I think it's a
They're
D4.
bots. I think they're bots
Yeah,
holding the fuck down.
Pony and Pickerness are D4,
Both D4.
both D4.
How is
so-
he? Loki has a high ass average ELT. I don't know how the fuck he pulled
Which
that off.
is great. I think it's honestly just due to Pat's Thick. They're
2 masters, 2 D4s, and a plat.
let's see.
That team's going places.
Array, yeah, sitting right at 50 points. So
He cooked. He
he
cooked with that shit.
Array did a really good job of doing draft. So but yes, I think they're playing terrific. I mean, it's showing them they're second in Pool A, so doing great. They're only a point behind us, so we'll see how they go. I got the Gauntlets well-rounded team. They've not played this week, but expecting them to win. Solid performances so far, though. Besides week 1, Power Friendship.
We don't talk about week 1.
We already
Week one
did.
isn't real.
We already did.
Week 1 doesn't exist.
What do you mean? Then you didn't
Except
win week
game
1.
2.
Jason.
No, except game 2. That's
That's
the only
fine.
thing that exists.
All right. Power
We'll leave week
Friendship. Had a great showing versus World Soup Center, even though they had 2 subs, which there's a circumstance. Normally you can't do that. Elo Surfers were on team, but maybe move up, down, depending on results of Thursday. GFC, just a rough week, but I'm expecting them to bounce back. 1,000 Year. If you haven't figured out why they're here, then just remember what I said about all their players this week. Yeah.
41-0.
Yep. Thank you,
Okay,
Neversoft.
that's actually insane.
Yeah. So, but World Soup Center, Owen trying his best to 1v9 some of these weeks. Hootie definitely a good supporting cast, but kind of struggles, and probably some matchups that he probably should be winning, but just having some bad team fights, and that's why I put him here. Wobble Warriors, I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue who's even on this team, because like I only have 2 games and one of them was streamed and I don't remember the other game. So McMammals, they won their last game, so or they won their first game, sorry. Now if they can continue that, they might be able to move up, but I'm not expecting them to go super far. They might be able to make a playoff run depending on their next couple games. I have to see who they play. And I got the schedule right here. They play Allen, Final Boss, and Summit Adamants. I can see them realistically winning out. But Final Boss can be maybe tricky for them. I mean, granted they're winless right now, so we'll see. And kind of see how Summit Adamants do. But yeah, I can kind of see them winning out. Possibly.
For sure.
Summit Admins, I think, won against Allen, and that's why they moved up just 1 spot. Okay, listen, I'm not crazy enough to say, oh shit, Shran 1v9, Summit Admins, number 3 team or something like that. Okay, I'm not that crazy.
Relax. Yes, you are. Relax.
Dude. Okay, hang on. My team power rankings are pretty solid in my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And then Final Boss, I think. Can they find their first win on Thursday? That's what I have for my notes. And then Allen, I think when your GM and Master Bot Lane are losing to Emeralds, you know something's bad. And I think, and then finally, Beware Gaming, while they have found success in the early game, I just want to talk about the three individuals on this team that I think are synergizing really well, and it's Firestorm, Naki, and BBQ Leona. They actually had some really good plays. In game one, game two was definitely rougher, but in game one they were actually moving as like a unit and blowing people up, finding picks, and creating plays around the map. So, realistically, I still think Beware is right now. I honestly would probably even say Beware might be better than Allen. That's probably a hot take, but
It's not that hot.
I think Beware might be better than Allen, but
It's only 13 and 14 you're talking about. That's not that hot, buddy.
I'm always wrong in some fashion because Jason keeps me straight or tries to. But yeah,
Succeeds.
never saw. Let's hear it.
All right. So I actually thought about sprinklers, tinklers, and rookies and cream. Because I think the obvious one is to put sprinklers, tinklers first. That's like the one that everyone will jump to. But what I've seen from them is like Sprinkler is definitely the best jungler, but there are times where this team will just kind of throw. And they've definitely gotten a few wins where it's kind of like I don't know if they
okay.
really deserve that win.
I think it's Loco throwing. I would say it's 80% of the
Logo
time.
does like inting a decent amount, but I think it's true even like Sprinkler will get caught up in it sometimes. And it's just like I still think they're one of the best teams for sure, but they've shown a little bit of a degree of shakiness more recently compared to Rookies and Cream, where I feel like when I watch Rookies and Cream, it's just like a good team. There's not really any other way to put it. The reason I have them so highly is because I think every other team below them has had more noticeable shaky moments, whereas they've just, once they started getting their footing together, they've just looked good. And that can change, but I think overall they just have looked good. There's no other really way to put it. And so that, again, I still put Sprinklers Tinklers second because I think they're showing. I mean, they have like the most points right now or something. Like they have been just dominating everyone for the most part. But again, still some blunders. So that's why I put them second instead of first. It does feel a little bit weird to actually put my own team third when because for me all I can think about is my first 2 weeks of performance, and other than out of those 5 games, I literally had one game where I felt like I was actually playing like a human being and not making my team hate me. And then the other 4 were very questionable, to put it nicely. And I think though once we kind of like got our role swap stuff figured out, what we wanted to do, and not throwing like Bron Cena to the wolves in the jungle role, and just kind of getting that all sorted out, it's just been looking very good. I think we definitely have a lot of potential to go up and or like up or down, just because like depending on how these next like 2 games, again, I'm pretty sure we're playing like tomorrow and then the next day as well. Probably have a sub one of the days as well. So depending on how like that goes, I think that'll change our rankings a lot. Or maybe it just goes nowhere, but I guess that's technically changing a lot. But I still feel like we're definitely third right now because I think the teams below, specifically fourth, fifth, and sixth, are kind of like in a grouping a bit. Power of Friendship, I ended up putting fourth. I think I originally had them a little bit lower, but I realized that I think they're still just a little bit better overall, and they did have a good showing even with like 2 subs. What was it, like the Woojin and Cisco like power squad making something happen? Um, but I think teams are not banning Nocturne and Caitlyn. Please, I want to
Yo,
see more of what this team looks like when they don't have those picks, because I think that says a lot for their power
you're leaking the
ranking.
draft strats.
Yeah, it is. You have 2 games we won versus them where we banned Nocturne, Kate, and Ziggs. Study up, people. If it's not on the schedule, then oops. I hope it is. I haven't actually checked, but if it's not, I guess you can look at my VODs. um, but yeah, I think they're still a very good team overall. And I beg of thee though, David, please stay in your lane. I beg of thee. I think it'll make that team a lot scarier if David is like not perma-sacking the top lane a lot. Um, but still just a good overall team. Elo Surfers and Garth's first grade class. I mean, I feel like Elo Surfers has a little bit more of that X factor going on. Like just giving respects to Gumby, that like his ability to just carry a game is very lethal. Um, and it's not something that you can underrate. And I think the two are actually pretty close overall once they've kind of like gotten settled in. And I think it's a little bit tragic for specifically for like Soulpan, because I think they looked scariest actually in their first week when they had um Bouncy Night. And it's just kind of been looking fine ever since, but they were looking like they could have been like top dogs, and now they're just kind of looking like pretty good, which is definitely a noticeable drop off. So I think they have room to go up, but right now it's just been shaky for them. And Guard's first grade class, I mean, they had a little bit of a rough series to say the least. So I think once again the first place rankings is plummeting into the void.
You're fucking frauds.
So I think they can recover and end up in a pretty good spot though. Thousand Year Dynasty, even though yes, 41-0, haha, funny. Um, I still think that they're just a good team overall. A lot of shaky points, but they have some good points as well. And honestly, I just couldn't put them, even though they had the 41-0 game, I couldn't put them below the team that kind of got rinsed by like two subs. Um, two subs who don't really play anymore. It's just kind of like they literally didn't even have like their star player on the roster, and they still lost with Owen, right? And it's just like that's pretty rough. So both those teams are looking definitely shaky, but there's definitely some positives and upsides that they can work with. Both of them having like very high elo players, like arguably, not even arguably, like Owen best in role, Dean best in role. Those are things to like actually play off of. While the Warriors, just kind of like everyone else, you just kind of smack them there because haven't fucking seen them play. There's nothing else we can do about that. They could be the goats of all time, or they could just be like in the bottom four. I don't know. Nobody knows. We're gonna hopefully find out soon. Um, McMammals has just generally looked pretty good. I realized when I was ranking, I think I had them a lot lower, but I looked at the rosters again and I was like, hold up. These guys, like, there's no way I can actually put them in the bottom four, because it's like between Nico, Pyrosis, I think they have Spirit Man as well, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't back down, like actually putting like solid performances. The other three, like generally being quite good. John Dye maybe starting to get some footing, right? Um, I don't think they can go any lower than like 10th or 11th right now for the most part. Summit admins, I mean, who is on Summit admins again? I might need a quick refresher on that.
Strand, Cookies, One Cake,
Cookies, Frost,
Tubby.
One
Frost, and
Cake.
Tubby.
Tubs.
Yeah, I think they're just a solid team. I originally did have them like above McMammals, but I think McMammals has a bit more of like just general. It just looked a little bit better, and it's also a little bit hard to judge because I think some admins. I mean, they were playing against Alan and the Chipmunks, if I remember correctly, which has been it's been a rough time for them. But I think overall those two might be interchangeable. And then final boss. I don't think they're bottom two, but they haven't really shown anything like special. I mean, I don't even think they won a game yet. I'm gonna say this, and now they're gonna like win a game off us on Thursday. Um, but they should be doing better. Realistically, if you look at these players, it is surprising that they are doing this poorly, which either means that they just haven't figured out how they want to play, or there's like maybe there's some internal issues going on or something. 'Cause it's really weird that they're like performing as low as they are. So hopefully they get their shit together. I would like more competition. Personally speaking, is always good. And I respected a lot of those players. I was basically their like sixth man all the way back in season 3 with some of these players back with the Roblins Goblins. So the good old the Kobayashi shadow. But yeah, the last two, I mean, Alan the Chipmunks is this is the one that's most surprising to me. Like in I think any other universe, I would rate Alan and the Chipmunks 14th because I think they have an underperforming GM like Masters GM bot lane, and they have like two of the worst solo laners in the league. And Gator is also just looked kind of lost. Maybe it's just because of the solo laners, to be completely honest. I don't think I can put everything on Gator at all. But it's just been looking so rough. And like, yes, I think they pulled out a win or two, but it just feels completely off. I watched that team and I'm like, man, this is rough. But I can't put them 14th because I think it's been even worse for Beware Gaming, even though they've arguably had more synergy with Firestorm and Naki and Barbecue Leona actually like getting stuff done. Like I don't know, the team just looks like a tragedy. I don't know how else to put it. Really, it's so rough. Like Naki, I think, was unfortunately going into the season probably like somewhat overranked because like they were like a Kiana one trick if I'm remembering my
Yeah.
stuff correctly. And I think it's just like kind of unfortunate that they got picked up pretty early and like just ended up a lot of expectations being put on and perhaps maybe a little bit unfairly because I don't think Naki is like a bad player at all, but it's like when they're your main low point player and you watch those games, it's like at least Allen and the Chipmunks has like potential through carry through their bot lane. I don't see where the hell they're getting any like carry threat on Beware Gaming. They just have like nothing to play through at all, and so it's just kind of like I don't know, rough.
Fair enough. All right, Jason, let's wrap up.
I agree fully with that 13-14 statements, by the way, so I probably won't say too much more on it. I will say the way I kind of look at the top teams is I kind of rate them stacking with each other, honestly, based on how well their like supplementary or like lower elo players do. Because for the most part, all the players, all the teams in like the top half, all their like high elo players are all playing pretty well. Like Array, TV playing well, Sprinkler Thin playing well. Never saw, I guess PP's probably second highest playing well. So the way I judge them, because since they're all playing well, I kind of judge them largely on how well the other players are playing. I think Rooks and Cream, their supplementary players or like the lower elo ones, I think are playing very well overall. They probably have the best supporting cast, however you want to call it. I don't know, not to be demeaning or anything, but that's really what it is. I think Breeze and Cream spot lane, playing great, very solid, exactly what you want out of your bot lane when you have your mid jungle carrying primarily. And then Pat's like in the top lane, just fucking holding it down. Strickler Stinkler, same deal. I think I put them lower just because I think their solo laners have a bit more exploitable weaknesses than Rooks and Cream's weak sides do at the moment, is from what I've seen. Obviously could change, and I do think their Sprinkler Stinkler's supplementary players are all playing pretty well too, but. I just think Rick Stream's a bit better. Gauntlet, same deal. Honestly, Power Friendship without playing, pretty similar. I think they have a bit weaker supporting cast, but I think their main, I think Sai just brings them all together. I think they play really well as a team. Um, us, honestly, I didn't realize it till we go into last week, but I was like, yo, team, are we fraudulent? Because low-key, our first three wins were all against 0-3 teams at the time. I was like, damn, we might be fucking cooked. And anyways, we got fucking cooked. Sprinkler fucking ran our shit. But I still think we're pretty good. I think, I honestly, I don't want to call it a complete fluke, but I do think, like, for the most part, like, not having our jungler on this A game was definitely a big detriment going against, like, probably the number one jungler. Um, like, just, like, double whammied us. So I still think we're pretty solid, but definitely not probably as high as we were thought to be last week. Elo Surfers, I think their sporting cast is honestly a bit weak. Have been shown to be a bit weaker. I think they definitely have potential. I think their main crew are insane, which kind of I guess reflects the point values. But Still solid team. Same with World Soup Center. I think actually Hootie is not playing nearly as well as he should be based on his rank. I think right now I actually just checked. He's like, I'm pretty sure I could be looking at the wrong Hootie, but I think he's like E2, like negative win rate right now, which is kind of crazy. You would expect that of your Master Jungler. So maybe that might have an influence on kind of reflecting the Summit games. I still think they have potential though, and being like as good as he is. I think got a lot of potential. Thousand Year, despite getting the fucking ass whooping of a century, I still think they did pretty. They're still a pretty solid team. I think it's always a little sus when your main bot lane, your main carries are in the bot lane. It's usually kind of hard to pull it off unless your whole team's pretty well rounded, like we've seen with like Rob Goblins in the past. And I think we're just not seeing it too much here. But still, I think they got potential. Wall Warriors, same like what Neversaw said, kind of a big unknown. Could potentially be higher, probably not going to be lower, but for now, this is where we have them. McMahon definitely on the up and up as far as like the lower rated teams. I would say from like 10 to 14 down, or like the low teams. But I think McMahon's definitely looking up. I think all their weaker players are certainly improving pretty well. I think the role swap is huge. Nico's looking great. The mid lane Pyrus is starting to look like he's getting a little better footing in the ADC. If you can get a little more, like a little less inty, I think he has pretty big potential. Some admins. Pretty solid performance. I think they're definitely coming together. I think it's still a bit rough for them. I don't want to talk too crazy because if we end up losing until next week, it'll look crazy. But I'm about to fucking fuck Tubby shit up. But they're solid, I think.
Run
They're
them
definitely looking
hands.
looking a bit better than they did in the past. I think Frost. I think the Soul Laners are performing much better than anticipated, and they have been. And Cookie's kind of finding his footing. I think they're actually looking pretty solid. I think I'm pretty comfortable putting 10, 11 where they're at, like above, clearly above the people below them, but not above any of the people above them yet. But I actually think they both have potential. With the trends, Final Boss still haven't seen too much yet. I think we're missing a week from them. They have some solid players on them. We just haven't seen them work it out yet. But they definitely, player-wise, I think they have potential to come together. But this is one of the teams since they don't have like any super crazy high elos that they're kind of like us where like everyone has to be pulling their own weight for it to work. And if anyone's not, it's kind of rough, as we've seen in the past. Allen Chipmunks. I'm not gonna lie, they're looking kind of fucking doomed. Same thing like Neversaw said, like had Beware Gaming not there, you would think for sure this team should be last based on what we've seen. Um, but then it leads us to Beware Gaming. Similar sentiment. Um, they have signs of life in the early game with jungle support doing their thing. The very hit or miss mid, so I don't even want to say too much about that. But then when your mid 80 top are like pretty worthless going into the mid game, it's like okay, all the early game leads you did are now for what? Because like who's gonna continue to carry on? Because it's usually not jungle support, unless you're playing some crazy shit. But yeah, it just seems like they have like almost no win con in their team, so it's a bit rough.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah. I think we mostly agreed for the team.
yeah,
Team.
pretty similar all around.
So but yeah,
For sure.
that will end this week's episode of Power Rankings. Thank you all for watching. Never saw Jason. Thank you for coming on, and yeah, well, I'll catch you next week. Deuces.